I just saw a tweet from Peter Schrager that came out within the last hour, Phil.
What'd he say?
Peter Schrager, a fan of the program, Zoe tells me.
Say, good morning, football.
Hello, how do you do?
Good morning, football.
Peter Schrager writes, from an NFL source not affiliated with either franchise, do the owners in New England see Mike Vrabel interviewing with the hated rival Jets today and have any reaction to that news at all? Does that move them? Does that invoke some sort of emotional response from them of, ew, we don't want that? Oh, Mike Vrabel being the Jets head coach and coming back to New England every year and haunting us twice a year and reminding us of the mistake of passing on him.
I get it. But I think my initial reaction before you answer this, Phil, would be, well, look what they did. They loaded up. They went and got Aaron Rodgers. They got all these number one picks, and he still couldn't get over the hump. They still couldn't even make the playoffs. People were talking Super Bowl a year ago. Hard Knocks, they were on Super Bowl. That's the only part of it where I would look at it and say, yeah, well, what'd that get him? They're still going to be same old Jets if he goes there. That's my initial reaction.
And that might be the case.
I'd worry about Bill going to the Jets if that was a real thing before he went to Carolina. But go ahead.
I just would say my reaction to Schrager's tweet is that apparently is not an uncommon thought in NFL circles, because I heard from someone today who had a similar sort of sentiment and similar sort of thought. Would this be something that would be calculated by Vrabel's camp to just sort of dangle it in front of the Patriots before the season's even over, that I could potentially be in the division for the next however many years?
It is a quick interview.
Coaching your hated rival.
Yeah, it is a quick interview.
It's a quick interview. The situation with his contract in Cleveland, I find interesting because it sounds like that was not something that was originally in his deal. It sounds like they let him out of that in the recent past so that he could pursue these opportunities. And so the ability to go and interview and sort of strut yourself in front of several other organizations that aren't the New England Patriots, who are still finishing out the season with their coach still employed, does that let them know, okay, if we really want to do this, we've got to act quickly, because we don't want to see that guy coaching somewhere else. And I don't know if that's how they feel, but I would say, and I said this on Early Edition with you last night, Beetle, in the last 5 days or so, just talking to people within the organization, the certainty with which I felt Mayo was locked into this job for 2025 because of what I've been told has shifted. And it's not as certain, in my opinion, as it was before that Chargers game. And so, listen, I would probably still lean, if you made me pick what are they going to do, I probably would still lean toward them keeping Mayo, just because if you blow it up, boy, you better hope you can get Vrabel, number one. That might not be a sure thing. Number two, and this shouldn't be an issue for them, but it's the reality of the thing, incredibly expensive to remove all of these guys that you just hired or gave big raises to, and now you're going to be hiring entirely new staffs, potentially, between the front office and the coaching staff. And so I would still lean towards them keeping Mayo, but I just don't feel as strongly about it as I did before that Chargers game.
Are we 60-40, 70-30? What do you think?
I don't know. I don't love doing percentages, but yeah, I mean, I don't.
More likely than not?
Sure. Yeah, I would say it's more likely that they keep Mayo, but I don't feel incredibly confident about that. And
I would say Arizona too.
Phil,
Arizona started.
I don't know
how
you could. How could you feel incredibly confident about it?
But you've said all along, as you just repeated, you've been pretty confident that he was safe. But something has changed in recent days that you don't feel as sure about that.
I just think that Chargers loss was embarrassing on multiple different levels, and it goes beyond 40-7. It's not just the talent on the field and the X's and O's and the game planning and the in-game decisions. I think it goes, to the Ramondre Stevenson thing. I think it goes to how you handled the quarterback, who's the most important piece of your franchise. And, why is he in there so long behind Lester Cotton and Caden Wallace, backup offensive lineman? And did we really need to get him back out there after suffering what looked like a concussion? And I know he passed all the protocols, and I know it's up to the medical professionals that are there, but did you have to bring him back? Like, those are the questions I would be asking if I'm the owner, and I care about next season and the season after that one. And I know this season's already lost, And so I'm not really sure why we're jeopardizing our most important piece in a game like that one against the Chargers in a situation that really didn't matter.
I would add, too, your 3 veterans. Tavai today, obviously. Wise and Godchild after the game. Fans, check yourself, know your place. You're spoiled. Be better. And this is after an ass kicking where maybe they don't feel they got embarrassed. When you have reactions like that, we're trying. You're not out there. You don't get it. 40-7's 40. It wasn't our day.
You don't get it. I would say there's a group of people who apparently don't get it, and it's not the fans.
It ain't the fans.
It's those guys in the locker room that you're hearing from when you're hearing about spoiled fans or, and I, in some ways, it's a little more excusable right after the game. You're in the locker room. The emotions are fresh.
Yeah, not 6 days after the game.
That this morning across the street was unfathomably dumb. I don't understand. I don't understand how you could still feel that way for a guy who's been in the league a long time and should understand how this works.
Even the guys who do feel that way typically are good at just avoiding it. Even if they do feel like F you to the fans, they just say, it's part of the job. It happens. Fans are frustrated, so are we. And they just move on from it, right? They avoid it. He wasn't really being pushed on that, and he went right down the road.
Yep. To me, it just highlights how much they miss certain guys in that locker room who I think do have the right attitude about those sorts of things. David Andrews would be one, and I know he expressed himself on his podcast, but it's different when you're out for the season and you're just not as involved as maybe you would be in other years. You miss that sort of thing. And so it's talent, it's leadership, it's organization. it's consistent messaging. These have all been problems throughout the course of the season.
I want to go back to 2019. This is the beginning of the end for Tom Brady. Team was what? 12-4 that year. They get eliminated wild card weekend. They had a bad loss to bad showing first half against this was the Kansas City game.
Correct.
Week
4,
early December. Early December, right? Play this. This is Brady being asked about it.
Tom, when you guys were heading to the locker room after the first half, there was some audible boos coming from the crowd throughout the stadium. Can you guys hear that on the field when you guys are heading to the locker room?
Yeah, you hear cheers, you hear boos. It's part of being in sports.
What was your reaction when that happened after you guys finished with the 7 points in the first half?
Try to go in and play better, basically.
Look at going back to 2019.
That's how you end it.
Getting a little audio pull. This is a new year, huh?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. This gets me.
Brady backs up again, under rush, moves up, throws on the move, finds James White underneath, and then he's hammered down by Breland. He takes a stick by the Kansas City corner, and that's going to be the final punctuation to this opening half.
Deservedly so.
We'll check that. It's delivered by the crowd at Gillette, where the Chiefs have taken it to the Pats after New England scored first.
You're 3-13. This is what happens when you're 3-13. That team ended up being 12-4 at the end of the year. And they're getting their ass booed. When you play poorly, you get booed. That's what fans do. How does this team not understand that?
You might set a record in terms of decibel level boos at home this week. I mean, they're making it worse.
Yeah.
You're making it worse.
Oh, you've poked fans now.
You're picking at the scab.
It's one thing if I egg you on. Now the players are egging you on.
And so I would say this is why it matters to me.
Oh, you thought we were booing last weekend?
Hold on.
Wait for this weekend.
That was halftime. You know what that team's record was going in at the half? 10-2.
10-2. 10-2.
10-2. And Brady's the quarterback.
And Brady was miserable.
Oh,
Brady would have booed the team himself if he could have.
That's the year they were 8-0, and he told you the worst on the most miserable 8-0.
Oh, that was so fun.
He knew it.
Oh, so nice. Remember Tom Brady? You guys remember him?
That is such freaking leadership.
He was a good player.
He was
awesome.
so miserable that year.
That was awesome.
100%. He knew it because he knew they were beating up on some paper tigers that year, and they were dominating them. Especially that was the year of the boogeymen too.
Oh, the boogeymen
defense that didn't finish quite as strong as it started.
Oh, I'd love to have the boogeymen back. Yeah. Oh, I'd love to have 2019
You'd love to have Calvin
and
win
a first round exit. No problem.
Yeah.
How much?
Question to me now is how much does ownership care? Because if you're an owner of an NFL team, you have to be cognizant of how the fans feel. You also don't want the fans making decisions for you. So is this the situation? If you're the Crafts and you're sitting in those seats, do you look at it and say, is this the situation where those two things align? What the fans want and the right thing for the organization, because we should be caring about the second thing and not necessarily reacting to the first thing. But is this one situation where they are aligned?
Hey, if you like that clip, check out more videos from Zolak and Bertrand right here. For more Patriots analysis and opinion, hit this playlist. And for all the latest from the Sports Hub, download the app at 985thesportshub.com.